Oh, hello everyone. Pastor Jose, one more time. I want to welcome everyone to our devotional for today. And before we start into our main thought for the day, I would like to invite my daughter Jocelyn. She's gonna come and she's gonna play a beautiful piece of music in her violin. Thank you, Jocelyn, for that beautiful piece of music. Abide in me. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. We are going to read from the book of Psalms, chapter 18 and verse 2. And it goes like this. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my rock, in whom I take shelter. I want to tell you a little story about me that happened when I was serving as a pastor in the Chicagoland area. There was a time when one of our colleagues fell ill with pneumonia and he passed, unfortunately, from that. And I remember that I went to attend the funeral service in Indianapolis. And after the funeral service was done and finished, I got ready to go back home. I lived back in that time in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It was about over 200 miles from Indianapolis to Kenosha, Wisconsin. So I got on my car, left the place and started driving, and suddenly snow started falling and falling and falling. A storm started happening rapidly. The highway was covered by snow. Driving became very difficult, very slippery. And I remember us having an 18-wheeler truck in front of me. And out of the blue, this 18-wheeler wheels truck uh, tried to stop and apply the brakes. And then when I saw that the driver had applied the brakes, my first instinct was apply the brakes in my car too. And that was exactly what I did. Unfortunately, when you are driving on the snow and then you abruptly apply the brakes, guess what's going to happen? Your car is going to start spinning. And that was exactly what happened to my car. My car started spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And I remember spinning inside of that car. And I remember God. And I remember crying to God for deliverance, crying to God to become my shelter, trying to uh, crying to God to become my rock and my salvation. And I asked for deliverance. I asked for His protection. And the car spinned like 3 times. There were cars coming from the left side of me, and the cars coming behind me, and none of those cars got to hit me. My car spinned for the last time and then made a turn, miraculously made a turn, and then it went into the ditch and stopped. And then once the car got there and wasn't moving anymore, I started touching myself to see whether or not I was still alive. And yes, I was. And then after that, I remember bowing my head and really thanking God for being my protector, being my deliverer. I don't know how many times and in how many occasions you have been in situations like that in which you have asked God for deliverance. You have asked God for protection, for physical protection, as well as spiritual. So it's interesting how David characterizes God in Psalms 18:12. He says that God is his rock, God is his shelter, God is his refuge. God is his fortress. And it's interesting that all of those places are places into which we run to find refuge, to find shelter, to find protection. And that was exactly the case of David. David was running from Saul, from his enemy. David was also trying to find peace within his soul and mind. So he was really asking God also to deliver him from his spiritual needs and spiritual challenges. So when the figure that David uses here in this Psalms about taking refuge, that very expression, taking refuge, in the Hebrew language, which was the language in which the most of the Old Testament was written, uh, indicates or communicates the idea of a refuge, a fugitive running away and trying to take shelter, trying to find protection. And that was exactly the case of David. He was running away from Saul, trying to find physical protection, but also trying to find spiritual protection because he was asking God to forgive his sins and transgressions and asking God to forget his iniquities and cleanse him from all his transgressions. So the deliverance that David was asking was a deliverance that included the physical and also the spiritual. The idea of taking refuge also indicates and communicates uh, the idea of men at war running away from their enemies and trying to take refuge to find security. And that was also exactly the case with David. He was trying to find security, he was trying to find refuge in God. And it's interesting to notice that the text also indicates that we cannot protect ourselves because David was taking refuge, which is an indication that he was running for protection. So we cannot protect ourselves. And that is one thing that this verse tells us. We are incapable of protecting ourselves. So we need to run to God. And the sooner we run to God, the better. I know you might be facing problems at home, problems at work, challenges that has to do with finances, family challenges, relationship challenges, and you just they're just kind of consuming you. And you're trying to do your best within the best of your ability. But I want to invite you today to run to God and find the good protection that He is willing to give you. Because He is willing. And that is another idea that the text communicates. Not only that God is the only one who can protect us, and we are incapable of protecting ourselves, but God is more than willing to protect ourselves. So what are you waiting for? It is time to run to God. And that would be my invitation for you today. I want to invite you. If you're running away from God, and if you're running away from your problems, you're running away from your enemies, I want you to pause for a few seconds and think about the offer that God is making you today. And that is, you can come and take shelter in me because I am a rock. I am a fortress. I am your refuge. And that is the promise that God has for you today. So the longer we wait to run to God, the more hurt we will get. So we can stop being hurting for whatever that is that might be hurting you today. And you can run to God and stop the hurting. He can protect you not only from physical situations, like in my case, the story I told you, like in the case of David, is running from his enemies, but he can also protect you from the spiritual influence that are contrary to God's word. So don't wait any longer. God is waiting so that you can experience Him as your protector. I'll see you next time. God bless you.